There you go. A little taste of us
Woo!
before the intro graphic. That's something. Hello, welcome to the March 2020 Town Hall for Concrete CMS. These are exciting times, and we've got a bunch of stuff to get through. It won't be too long, but some cool stuff to show and a few things to get through real quickly here. So let me share my screen, maybe add to stream. There you go. Number one news item. We're the most loved. Thank you, everybody. It's nice to be loved. Trust Radius says that we are very loved. 25,000 products, 800 categories. We're loved. And we love you too. Thank you for the reviews that get us to this stuff. This stuff really matters. Helps new clients find concrete and recognize that, hey, if people people generally don't love using software. So that's nice. And thank you for sharing that perspective, and we appreciate it.
That's great. Those are always nice to see.
Other news that is happening. We're working on a bunch of updates to the community site. I know we always talk about this. Often they are things you don't see. There's a push going up this week that will actually include some stuff that you will see. So dialing in the member search a bit. I think we've got a better search across the site coming. We might finally be making some of those cosmetic improvements to the documentation. So I'd hope to have that up already, but we'll
the search is actually live just due to the way that it goes.
So
but
search is already better.
Yeah, so that is and so the other ones should be rolling out over this week, I would expect.
Yeah. So and that's nice. We've been able to actually carve out some time to spend on the community stack, and we'll continue to do so through March. So good. Getting ahead of a bunch of tickets that have been sitting in Jira for quite some while. So I'm happy to see that moving forward. In other news, in the spirit of, hey, we've been spending some time, as we've been saying for this internal, just getting our roots healthy here. Andy has been churning through GitHub issues in the core at a great pace. I think we went from over 600 to down to 450 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Neck of the woods. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot in there. And, a lot of those had been open during the flurry of activity leading up to version 9, which was super helpful. And then, we would fix these things and not always close them out. Other things have been hanging around forever. Things we may or may not do, or things that we have done in different ways over the years. And then other things are just things that we've just actually, fixed and implemented. So expect to see the pace up high on those. Expect us to, perhaps be a little bit more direct in terms of if something doesn't fit a vision or it is never going to happen, we might push back on just closing it rather than just leaving it in the ether. And then otherwise, definitely, if things are good ideas, trying to categorize them in ways that make it clear which items are, a couple days worth of work versus which items require additional thinking to break out into, subtasks of their own. The process of working on those issues is definitely continuing, and expect it to continue and be refined even further in the coming weeks and months.
Mm-hmm. I think you're exploring some of the other features of GitHub from a project.
Yeah, so I think, and I know that these work because people have used them to open issues since then. But if you go to the new issue button in GitHub now, you'll get kind of a wizardy looking, at least first page. It doesn't just dump you into a text editor where you can write whatever your heart desires. It tries to get you to places that could actually help you. So sometimes people need to ask questions or help with their site working a certain way, and we want them to be working in the forums for things like that. If you have issues or feature requests, we're still absolutely excited to get those. But we are trying to create them with a bit more structure so that they don't just get forgotten about.
Nice. So, lots more attention going into where it should, core on the community site. So that is the news. Forging right into thanking people. I want to start by thanking some people for some documentation improvements. We got Demiger84, Rescribble. I actually want to show this one. Linuxoid has written this very thoughtful tutorial on how to clone the atomic
Nice.
theme and kind of jam it on your own, which is great because it seems like that's kind of like, kind of step one if you want to start playing with how to do things in version 9. So thank you, Linuxoid, for that thoughtful and relevant content.
Yeah, that's been the subject of actually specific, questions. This exact thing has been subject of specific questions in the forums, like how do I use Atomic as a starting point? So yeah, this looks to be very helpful.
Very helpful. And TM Designs, who also has done some documentation improvement. And with that, Andy, I'm going to hand it off to your much superior powers of handle pronunciation to go through code and issues.
All right, yeah. Lots of work in GitHub this month. Since the last town hall, we've gotten code contributions from M. Locati, Rude Zuderlicht, First Thomas, Deek87, Hamed Daragi, Hishi, Dan Klassen, Evie GK, KZN-A, M. Nakale, Wordish, and Catalysis. So thank you for all the pull requests. And then new issues from community members: B. Saladin, Masuva, Dan Klassen, Hamed Daraki, John the Fish, First Thomas, M. Locati, Ashish AX, Sarin Charnley, Morier, Asima Kubota, Linuxoid, Pukachu, M. Nakale, Rutger, Catalysis, Jack Vanson, Heflemy, HMONE23, Abrechts, Wordish, Hishi, Deek87, P. Vernaglia, and Nikolai Nikolajevich. So thank you all for keeping GitHub rolling, and don't be surprised if I respond to those issues quickly as we or perhaps out of the blue to some older issues that you've submitted that haven't gotten any traction, because we're really trying to make that GitHub the real source of truth as to not just what needs doing, but an actual roadmap as well. So thank you all.
Yeah, thank you everybody, and thank you for everything that you're doing in the forums and the community, and just helping us in building the web for the greatest good. These are interesting times, and it's always nice to be collaborating with people in making tools that are free for expressing your ideas online. With that, we're going to go into the Golden Baton. So every month we give an award to a community member who has gone above and beyond. We started it, I don't know, probably a better part of a year ago at this point, and whoever wins the Golden Baton passes it on to somebody else that they feel out of the community is a true hero, thus the baton. Last month, it was awarded to Hishi from Concrete 5 Japan, who's been an active community member for a very long time and has done any number of heroic improvements to the core. Japanese, definitely first language. I met him a couple times and have spoken a bit, but no video from Hishi this month, which is absolutely fine and understandable. He did let me know who he wants to pass the baton on to. So I'm going to do a long, slow build-up, which seems to be the norm for the handing off of the baton.
A scholar.
I'm going to make it up as I go.
A humanitarian.
This person is an important person in the community. We met him at the Cascadia Concrete Con years ago now, and is an interesting character, a world traveler, and somebody who is very, very bright, has his thumb on the technical future of what is happening, loves the core, loves building things that are complicated in it, and does not love when we make changes that aren't clear, or get something that is perhaps 80% of the way there but not all the way done, which is very understandable. But often heroically will come along and help us finish that last 20%, and has always been a real hero in that sense. So we always look forward to hearing what this person thinks about what we've done, and his feedback always takes it to a better place in the end. And I'm wondering if Andy has figured out who it is yet or not. But this month, the Golden Baton goes to Derek. also from Concrete Japan, the Scotsman in Japan that has the plan. So congratulations, Derek. I believe that's Deke87. Is that right? Or am I mixing up?
Yes,
Yeah,
that
that's
is correct.
Deke87. So he's always getting shout outs in code and issues as well. I think has single-handedly, or at least by a massive amount of work to deal with PHP version 8 issues most recently, but that's not the first time that he has taken on a Herculean task that we've all thought, oh geez, do we really have to? And Derek always says, yeah, we're gonna, and leads the way. So we appreciate your leadership. We appreciate you pushing back on hard things, and yeah, well deserved. The Golden Baton is coming your way, Derek. So thank you.
Yeah, most recently, Derek has been taking the lead on making sure all the blocks, which are definitely the most problematic part of our PHP 8 transition, just due to the kind of lazy way we used to define blocks, and which used to be okay. And he's been cleaning that up for PHP 8, and it's not an insignificant task. There's a lot of blocks in Concrete 5, in Concrete, and there's a lot, and it's some of the oldest code, at least in some places. So really thank you for all that you do, and can't wait to see a video from you next month.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, it is time to check in with the PRB, and I think they're going to do a review of like a roundup, as they do from time to time. So let's see if I can cue that up.
Our topic this month is performance and optimization. Some of these add-ons have been in the marketplace a few years, so we will tell you which are version 9 ready and what we know about the maintenance status as we go along. The most common performance overhead on Concrete sites is generating the navigation tree for an AutoNav. And one of the ways round this is to use a manual navigation block where you pick pages directly in the block edit dialog. Nestable Manual Nav by Sharok is free in the marketplace and outputs navigation trees that are fully compatible with the core AutoNav block. We covered this in more detail a few months back, so that's all I'll say here. As well as being free in the marketplace, Nestable Manual Nav is also on GitHub should you want to contribute. It's not yet version 9 ready, but is maintained. We also have a simpler single level manual nav, also free and originally developed by Jordan Lev for Concrete 5.4. It was then updated to version 5.7 by AC List 19XX and is now maintained on GitHub by Concrete 5 Japan. While less sophisticated, this block can be more convenient for single level navigation because it's easier to create new templates for, and personally I find it quite useful for footer navigation. Again, it's not yet version 9 ready. Instant Page Speed Magic is an add-on by Nor. It uses many tricks to improve page speed and lighthouse scores by adjusting page output to implement the recommended best practices. Functionality includes minifying HTML, lazy loading images, inserting prefetches for remote assets, deferring the loading of assets, and optimizing asset locations in the page. As well as being configured globally, you can adjust settings locally using a page attribute. Instant Page Speed Magic is version 9 ready and costs $65 in the marketplace. Our next few add-ons are by A3020 and are all free in the marketplace. Unfortunately, A3020 no longer maintains these, so none are marked version 9 ready, but they are all free and sources on GitHub, and the source is pretty high quality, so it is good for people to work with. First, we have Minify Html. This will compress HTML output and leave CSS and JavaScript assets unchanged, so it's just an HTML compressor. Our second add-on by A3020 is Image Optimizer. This does what it says on the tin. It runs through the local file manager images and thumbnails to reduce image size. It needs an external tool to do this, and it can work with optimizer tools installed on the server or with an API to a web service called Teeny PNG. This can be a useful tool for site owners who are inclined to upload big or otherwise unoptimized images. Advanced Cache is a developer level utility. As well as being edited into a page, concrete blocks can also be hard coded into page templates, and a common use for this used to be in themes where top navigation could be coded into the template. The trouble is that hard coded blocks aren't cached, hence hard coding blocks fell out of best practice. But sometimes you really do want a hard coded block, and this Advanced Cache utility provides a simple developer interface to render hard-coded blocks through the cache. So you edit some code, like in this screenshot, into your theme or wherever you're hard-coding a block, and the hard-coded block will then be cached. If you have a site with some complex and heavy to first load pages before they're cached, you can avoid visitors from experiencing first load time by pre-caching the page. Cache Warmer is also by A3020 and provides a job that warms the cache and pre-caches pages, so visitors always see an already cached page. And so over to Noor to continue our review of performance and optimization.
Thank you, John, and hello everyone. So let me start with the Universal Content Pooler, UCP for short, which I already presented a few months ago, but since John was just presenting cache-specific packages, I felt this one had its place here as well. So UCP lets you pull content from many places and transform and display them, the data, in many ways. But what I didn't say last time is that UCP also lets you control the way the data is cached. So you have access to all of the block's caching options, like, do you cache it for registered users or not, how long, extra. So you can manually tweak them depending on your use case. For instance, if pulling some JSON data from a remote URL that might be slow or, that doesn't change very often, you can enable all options and set the cache for a very long lifetime. So it will make your website faster. The package is $50. It is version 9 ready and it requires PHP 7. Then we'll have a look at Speed Analyzer by developer A3020, which I also already presented. It was in September 2021 when discussing getting started on developing, but a topic on performance wouldn't be complete without this package. So Speed Analyzer will show you exactly where bottlenecks are in your code and on your website. If your website is slow, it will help you find out why by showing you details about the loading process. You'll get information on how many database queries were executed, how long did they take, how much time did specific events take, what blocks were loaded, extra. I still have to give you the same word of warning I already gave. This package works well so far, but it's not supported anymore. So it might eventually stop working, especially with Concrete 9 coming. However, it is available on GitHub, so feel totally free to help keeping it up. It's free and it's not version 9 ready. Next, we have Transaction Fix for new Relic Apm by developer Hissy. So if you need more power than what Speed Analyzer can offer, this package lets you use New Relic's APM service. New Relic offers monthly subscriptions to different developer tools, and APM stands for Application Monitoring. So it will monitor your website in real time and warn you of errors, bugs, slow queries, and the likes, and even show you faulty code so you can fix it. It will also allow you to monitor performance and other custom metrics that you can define. New Relics offers a free plan, which is not bad at all, and to get you started. And after that, cost is per usage. The package itself is free, and it's not V9 ready for now. Then we have Handyman by developer M. Lucati. Handyman is a very complete tool or set of tools that gives you access to a whole lot of settings that Concrete hides under the hood and in the background, as well as a few server-specific settings. So it will help you a lot to tweak your website and make it more secure, but it also offers a few performance-specific settings. You'll be able to better customize reindexing of pages, for instance, or tweak how pages are copied and deleted so the process doesn't time out every time if you're doing a lot of pages at once. You can also limit access to remote information that you might not need, for instance, the custom dashboard image or market news or things like that. The package is $15 and it's not V9 ready. Then we have optimized database tables packaged by developer A3020. So it's one of those packages that does one job, but it's an important one and it does it well. It will optimize your database, letting you shrink it by as much as 50%, making it smaller, obviously, but also much faster in the process. For example, on a high traffic website with a database of 180 MBs with more than 4,500 pages, the database shrunk to 91 MB. That's almost 50%. The package works through a job that once set will check if tables need optimizing and will act accordingly, even letting you know how much space you saved. It's totally free and it's not V9 ready. Website Optimizer by developer Ramon Linders cleans up the mess on your website and server. It takes care of leftovers from packages and blocks. It will physically remove unused packages, unused blocks from the server, as well as unused leftover database tables. It will delete leftover files created by working with the file manager. It will clean temporary files and server logs and remove old update folders and a lot of tasks like that. It's a big package and it does a lot. So a word of warning, of course, always back up your files and database first and take very seriously any warning the package will give you before deleting anything. If not sure, just abstain. The package is $40 and it's not V9 ready for now. And finally, we have Extreme Clean, again by John DeFish. It's another cleaning tool, a bit like Website Optimizer. It will clean up also database and files left over by file managers' operations and server processes. It will clean up old page versions in a much more tweakable way than what the core does. It will also clean up abandoned user accounts, old drafts, messy clipboards, extra. It has a lot of options, also a big package. You can set it up to run as a job, or you can run it manually from the dashboard. But what sets it apart is an extremely useful option it has that lets you run it in safe mode before you do the actual cleaning. So it will show you what's about to happen and what will be deleted before you actually do it. And that's extremely useful. It costs $30 and it is V9 ready. Well, that's it for this month. So have a great rest of your day and week and see you soon. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Great.
Awesome. Cool stuff. It's always so much interesting stuff in our marketplace. There's a lot of powerful things in there. It's very cool. All right. We do have something to show and tell. Andy has been tinkering around with this cool service that Corvin and Katz turned him onto a little bit ago. And I don't know, do we have, can you share your screen, Andy?
Yeah, I
Fire up a
can.
quick GitPod demo. See if I can figure out how to add it.
Hold on, let me pop this into a new window and perhaps it will function a little bit better.
As you do that, I guess I can give some background context. This is a service called GitPod. You can point it to your repo and it will install your software and give you a dev environment all within a browser, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, can you see my GitHub screen?
Sure can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what I have done is installed a little Chrome extension for GitPod. So you don't usually see this green button here, but this button is literally just saves you typing in a URL that's like 15 characters long. So you definitely don't need to install that. I just thought it would demo a little bit better. But what this button does is any GitHub repository that you come to that has this GitPod YAML file into it, it will add this button, which makes it easy to launch a Git pod environment for whatever project you're looking at. And what does that mean? That means Git pod is a way to spin up kind of an ephemeral development environment all on the web for working with a particular project. And the easiest way to make sense of what I just said is to kind of just see it in action. So if we click this Git pod button, you'll see all it does is quickly, it launches gitpod.io, and then it adds the concrete URL after it, and that works for any GitHub project with the Gitpod YAML file in it. And what it does is it creates a Docker image based off a Docker file that's in the root that's named appropriately, and then and we've set this all up in the concrete root in the concrete project, and it then pulls that image, and if it needs to build something, it will download a bunch of stuff. Otherwise, if it's already kind of cached, which is in the case of this, it just kind of builds a development environment in your browser and goes through all the steps necessary to install concrete. So you can see right now it's installing Composer in this window. In this little terminal window, it is waiting to start MySQL until, oh, it's actually already started MySQL. It's waiting to start Nginx until the rest of the system is ready, and that won't be ready until Concrete's installed. And so you can see we're actually going through the Concrete console command line installation right here. And yeah, what's cool about this is it's all Git based. So I mean, other than the fact that you're actually running, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff about this that 10 years ago my mind would have been completely blown. So not to glaze over all the magical engineering that makes any of this possible, but kind of in a practical sense, what's cool about this is that you can as a member of the community, you can go to any pull request in the core that happens to come in, provided it's based off of one that includes this Gitpod YAML file, and then you can just fire that up and test it within your browser. So there's a good one, like an example of this that isn't quite ready to demo, but would be interesting, is there's one where a developer has added a bunch of new caching settings to a bunch of blocks. And it's a perfect example. Like you need to test that, and you need to test it fairly extensively. And of course, I could easily download the code and reinstall Concrete locally. But what if I'm working on something on my local machine? Or what if I want to have a couple developers help me and say, hey, they've added cache settings to 20 different blocks. You take A through G, and I'll take M through R, and you take the rest. And we can all spin up Git pods based off of that particular pull request and see how it works without having to upend whatever we're working on in our local environment. There's even ways to actually, since this is a code editor, there's even ways to actually get into the code, start messing around with stuff, and see it actually update your stuff. This is a code editor, and it's got all the things that you would expect with the code editor. You can search your code, you can syntax highlighting all the stuff. I think it's based off of VS Code. And you can even commit back into a pull request from this Git environment, although I have not yet done that, and there may be more that needs to happen in order for that to work. But certainly for testing code, I haven't gone through the entire development lifecycle with this yet, but it's certainly for testing code, it's all possible. So you can see our installation is done, and so now the server knows it's time to open the preview window, and here's the logs, so I can even get the logs right there. And then you can see in this tiny little window, I've got my Concrete site. So if I pop this open with this icon, this is ready to go. So I can log in. This is an ephemeral Concrete environment running with acceptable performance. All of the installs get the username of admin and the password of password. But again, these are sandbox. You can't really do anything with these. And they're all their own complete self-contained Nginx, MySQL, PHP environments. And but yeah, you're able to now test out the developed version of Concrete without having to mess around with it. This will also be very helpful. Frequently people will come and say, hey, I can't do X, Y, and Z in my site. I think this is a bug. And we'll say, well, I think we fixed this in the latest develop branch. And I'm sure that someone who has a 901 site is not exactly excited about downloading the latest develop branch, installing Composer stuff, and making sure it works. But now they have there's an easy answer for those people, or for us who want to help. We can say, okay, let me take a moment to try and test that for you, and we can just spin this up and see whether the issue is still valid on the latest develop without having to teach someone how to install Composer, or get the latest stuff and build the CSS files and all that stuff. So I think this is definitely sort of in its infancy still, but I'm really excited to see where it goes, and how we can continue to do more, think about more creative solutions to modern web development.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Does it cost anything?
It might. I don't think so. I certainly haven't had to pay for anything. Right now, it makes you you connect your GitHub. You have to be logged into GitHub in order to spin up one of these environments. So I suppose perhaps if you want to, I haven't explored the pricing options. I know that for this works with any Git repository. So one way that this service makes money is they sell private Git pod instances for companies that want to, we're using this for an open source project, but there's no reason you couldn't use, dedicated concrete projects, which we also store in Git for our private clients. We could have Git pod YAML files that work to install their sites as well.
Nice.
So to actually do site-specific development, private development. They also do Git pod on-prem, which sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely
there are ways for them to exist as a company and to pay for their kids to go to school. But
yes,
what you've shown us today is free. And
yes, I have not had to put in a credit card or mess around with anything.
Awesome.
Like that.
Well, it was a very cool, very cool idea and sexy service.
Yeah.
Excited about that. Can I show?
Yeah.
We agree, John Steele. Very cool tech indeed. Okay, we are now in the Q&A section of the day. We don't seem to have any Qs beyond some enthusiasm for updating the community site from Jane, and a good morning from JP. And as I already said, cool tech on the Gitpod stuff. It seems to me like we have a lightweight March. Doesn't surprise me. Lots of stuff going on. So given that, I think we're going to call it quits for this month and get back to work, gang. Thank you very much. We'll be posting the PRB video as a separate video, so you don't have to sit through the news and whatnot if you're just looking for that. And I don't know. I think beyond that, we will see you in a month.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone.